Doing Marriage Well for the week of August 3rd, 2026. Why did God invent marriage? August 3rd, why did God invent marriage? This week I want to talk about why God created marriage. I think an understanding of what He intended helps us do marriage well. I will also look at some reasons God did not create marriage, or things we try to make marriage that are not in line with what God intended. God is clear about why He made a wife for Adam. It is not good for man to be alone, so I will create a companion for him, a perfectly suited partner. That's Genesis 2:18 in The Voice. It was not good for Adam to be alone. What makes this statement so amazing is Adam walked with God in the garden each evening. Adam knew God as we cannot, and according to God, that was not enough for him. Adam needed someone who was like he was. He needed a partner who was perfectly suited for him. When I was 23, I woke up one morning wanting to be married. I'd always assumed I would get married, and I wanted that. But suddenly I felt I needed it right then. I was walking very close with the Lord at the time and had good friends, but it was not enough. Like Adam, I was lonely, and it was not good. I am grateful that I felt that longing to be married. I am also grateful God allowed me to live in that place for more than a year. It made me strongly aware of my need, and it helped me to avoid taking my wife for granted. It has also made it easy for me to accept her imperfections and the challenges of the two becoming one. I remain aware of how it felt to be alone and how much I wanted and needed a godly wife. No minor irritation of marriage today outweighs that need. I believe God created marriage so we would have someone with whom to share life. Sharing the good makes it better. Sharing the bad makes it less bad. It doesn't get any better than sharing life with your spouse. This is Paul, and I am striving to do marriage well every day. A note, I use the Voice version for Genesis 2:18 as it is a more accurate translation of the meaning of the original than many versions. I wrote about this in I Want an Ezer Kenegdo. There's a link in the show notes. August 4th, what your marriage says about God, for better or worse. Another reason God created marriage, or at least something seen throughout the Bible, is to help us understand His relationship with us. Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel all describe God as the husband of Israel. In the New Testament, Jesus is called the bridegroom of the church, and the church is called the bride of Christ. And the Bible ends with the wedding supper of the Lamb. The analogy extends to sexuality. Multiple times in the Old Testament, worshiping other gods is likened to adultery. In Ephesians 5, the Apostle Paul links marriage and the sexual one-flesh union to the mystical, spiritual union between Christ and the church, calling it a profound mystery. This analogy means a couple of things for us. First, a bad marriage is a bad witness. If marriage is supposed to show how God cares for us, a bad marriage reflects poorly on God. If folks who go to church had much better marriages than folks who did not, it would be far easier to get people to come to the Lord. Statistically, Christian marriages are better, but it's not enough of a difference for most people to see. The analogy was created to help us understand our relationship with God, but it can also help us understand how we should be with our spouse. A husband abusing his wife is like Jesus abusing us. The silent treatment is like the Holy Spirit refusing to communicate with us. Being too busy for our spouse is like being too busy for God. And sexual refusal is like refusing to worship God. Does your marriage make God look good? What should you change to improve that? This is Paul, and doing marriage well will preach. August 5th, God prioritizes marriage. Lessons from the Old and New Testament. God is very pro-marriage. I want to share a couple of verses that show this. Deuteronomy 24:5. If a man has recently married, he must not be sent to war or have any other duty laid on him. For 1 year, he is to be free to stay at home and bring happiness to the wife he has married. That's from the New International Version. This passage is part of the Old Testament law. It is remarkable because it was given at a time when Israel was in near constant war. No other duty meant that he could not be forced to work on roads or carry supplies to the army. Some rabbis said it also meant he was not to pay tax. The man was still expected to earn a living, but the entire community was called to carry a bit more so a new couple could develop a solid marriage. Some suggest bring happiness to his wife included sex. While not found in the text, it would be logical to assume it's part of the whole. This is not a verse we consider today. If you are a church leader, may I suggest you honor the spirit of this and not ask newlyweds to serve for the first year they are married? If you have any influence with newlyweds, show them this verse and ask them to prayerfully consider what it means for them. The couple who focuses on their marriage and each other for the first year will do far better than those who did not. And now for the New Testament verse. Hold marriages in high esteem, all of you, and keep the marriage bed pure. That's Hebrews 13:4a in the Voice. The King James and New King James versions make this a statement. Marriage is honorable in all and the bed undefiled, rather than a command. We don't have to dissect the original language to know this can't be right. Marriage was not held in honor when Paul wrote the passage. This passage being a command means it requires something of us. In our own marriage, we must keep our sex life pure. We must also honor marriage in general. That doesn't mean we say nice things about it. We should protect marriages. We should pray for those who are married and do everything we can to help those around us have better marriages. The church is supposed to be a community, and we are supposed to take care of each other. Caring for other people's marriages is part of that. A couple of times when Lori and I were newly married, an older man came up to me and gave me a Pentecostal handshake, meaning he passed me some money. And that was always accompanied by, take your wife to dinner. When we got older, Lori and I did our part by occasionally offering free babysitting for a young couple with children. Now, most Sunday evenings, we take the grandkids for a few hours to give mom and dad some couple time. How could you help the marriages of those around you? This is Paul, and doing marriage well goes beyond your own marriage. August 6th, happy or holy? God's design for marriage includes both. Today I'm going to chew on one of my pet peeves, the idea that God didn't give us marriage to make us happy, but rather to make us holy. I've already laid the groundwork on this. Yesterday I shared a verse about a man being free to spend his first year of marriage making his wife happy. And then there's Proverbs 18:22, which in the ESV tells us that he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. And what about Adam? He had no imperfection when God gave him Eve. A good marriage is one of the best things, possibly the best thing, we can experience this side of heaven. My wife often makes me happy. She blesses me richly. My marriage gives me meaning and direction. My wife is the greatest gift God has given me, second only to salvation. To be fair, God uses everything and everyone in our lives to make us more holy. And given how close and intimate the marriage relationship is, we should expect Him to use it more than anything else to grow us up. I just don't like the idea that my wife was given to me to whip me into shape, nor do I want it to be my job to do that for her. That said, God very much uses my wife to challenge me and help me grow. I'm a better man for having her in my life. I encourage her to be this in my life. I want her to tell me when she sees something that concerns her. I'm not asking her to be my mother, but I do want her to be my fellow disciple, learning how to live and follow Jesus better and better. I don't expect her to fix me. That's my job. I do want her input on what she thinks might need to be fixed. Finding the right balance on this can be tricky, and it's a moving target, as it will change throughout your marriage. I would suggest discussing it from time to time. Do you want more input? Do you feel there's too much? What would be more helpful? This is Paul, and doing marriage well should accomplish both. August 7th. Did God make marriage for sex? The answer might surprise you. When we ask, why did God create marriage? Should one answer be for sex? Or perhaps as a place for sex? I don't think God made marriage for sex. I think He made sex for marriage. Human sex is unusual. As far as we know, only humans and a few kinds of toothed whales experience a long post-reproductive lifespan, aka menopause. Most female animals are only receptive when fertile, but women, who are fertile less than a week each month, are receptive and orgasmic all month long. In fact, it's common for women to experience a surge in sex drive shortly before menstruation, when pregnancy is impossible. As for orgasm, we don't know which female animals do, but we are sure many don't. What's more, for some animals, including cats, sex is always painful for the female. Mating while pregnant is very rare among animals, and when it happens, it results in more offspring. Some women, on the other hand, feel an increase in sex drive during part of pregnancy. God didn't give us a strong sex drive and a command to have sex in marriage just so we could make babies. In animals, sex is clearly all about reproduction. In humans, sex seems optimized for pleasure. Not just physical pleasure. Sex can also provide great mental and emotional pleasure. Beyond that, it releases chemicals and hormones that draw the parties together. Unmarried couples who have sex may develop a desire to marry or live together. For those already married, good sex is like relationship glue. Sex won't prevent a divorce, but it can smooth out rough spots, encourage working on issues, and make it easier to work on issues. Of course, we mess it up. Sin, both those we commit and those that are committed against us, can put us off sex or point us in a direction God didn't intend. Please know that if sex is not as it should be in your marriage, it can get better. If you need help, get help. Sex is one important part of marriage. This is Paul, and I think doing sex well pleases God.